Hi, Vanessa. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for, coming on and sharing some space with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Vanessa and I have known each other for many years. She is a friend, a business owner, a wife, a mom of adorable twins. She is a seeker and enjoys dabbling in all kinds of modalities, which is probably why we love each other so much. I don't even know actually when we met, but it was a long time ago. So her husband and my husband are besties. They were married on my parents-in-law land. So our connection runs, pretty deep. So welcome on the show, V.
I'm just so happy to be here with you, Lisa.
Yay. So at the beginning of this year, Vanessa was navigating some difficult times and some, overwhelming emotions and sensations, and decided to reach out for some attachment and somatic therapy. So I guess that leads into my first question. How did you know that it was time for a different approach to healing? What led you here?
Well, many roads led me to you, Lisa, but I was once I knew what you were learning about and being trained in, I was very intrigued by what you were doing. So there was a general interest in somatic work, and I think it was also kind of popping up more and more in the world and on Instagram, the word somatic, and what the heck is that? And so there was that curiosity there, but I did feel like a really strong pull that was like a knowing that this was a step I needed to include in my journey. Yeah, it was like January of this year after I had done a lot of other healing. The kind of the year and a half prior to that, I had kind of dove into some big work in different modalities, and I felt, and I could get into that, but just to we can get there. We can get there
We
eventually.
can get there.
um but I tried a lot of different things. Like you said, I'm a seeker. I'm always like looking to learn about myself, astrology, all the things. I've done all the things. And I kind of felt like I had like unearthed a lot of emotions or a lot of memories and a lot of learnings and new information and ancestral information. And I feel like I just dumped it all on the table. And I was like looking at it all and I was like, oh God, I have to figure out where all of this goes now. And like, there's pieces that I know I didn't like give the attention they needed, like when they happened, like traumas or difficult times. And I essentially felt like it was time to start, I don't know, like, I don't integrating maybe isn't the right word, but it was like giving the attention that these things needed, like giving them my full attention to try to like make sense of them or like hopefully heal them, or at the very least like know where to put them. And so it felt like the right time to do so the somatic work with you, because based on my understanding of what it was, that we would have the time to take a look at different things. And also I spent a lot of time talking, like I did a lot of talk therapy, or I have done a lot of talk therapy in my life, which has always been super supportive for me because I do like to talk and I process by talking. But I sort of wondered like what my body had to say about it all if I was quiet for a minute. So yeah, it was that curiosity and just knowing it was time to take a deeper dive, I think.
And I guess that leads to the next question of what was kind of the main difference that you noticed between traditional talk therapy and somatic therapy?
Oh, actually, I feel like that one's easy to answer. I'm excited. I feel like I said, talk therapy is like one of my favorite things because I get to tell all my stories and be witnessed and seen and all all of it, but I often would leave, I think, talk therapy sessions with more to say and like more to resolve and more questions. And if you don't like consciously make the space to keep, to finish the session once you leave the session, I feel like it can add to your stress, because it can kind of, you can be like poking around at the wound and not close it up, or not
right.
like I that's something that I noticed, is feels like there's never enough time
Yeah.
in a session to like get to it all. And I speak in tangents and I go off and then I forget what the main thing was. And I don't know. I just think sometimes it wasn't enough. And so in the somatic sessions, while it was difficult sometimes to like resist the urge to tell all my stories,
Mm.
I liked the sort of like cycle of the session where we would like drop in to the body, and then whatever would come up, and we would look at it and work with it. And then at the end of the session, we would finish, like we would close it out. We would come
Closing the
back
loop.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, come back down. And it in itself, even if I didn't cover everything I was hoping to, or it wasn't what I thought we were going to work on that day.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like my intention for the day was like to deal with this trauma. And then like something else came up.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a whole thing where we would close the circle at the end. And like that one piece was like, I don't want to say finished, because we're never like finished, but it
Yeah.
felt complete.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest difference. So just like it's a different need that we have. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, I wouldn't even say one is like better than the other, especially for me who
Mm-hmm.
enjoys the talking. And it's not that we don't talk either in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a sense of completion at the end of those sessions.
Yeah. And would you say that I know this often comes up in session two, that people are surprised that potentially what is coming up in the body is, like you said, not necessarily what you expected to be addressing in that time, and how, I like this idea, thinking about the body as its own sovereign being. Because I mean, realistically, look at how much stuff our body is doing without any sort of input from us. So, and that's literally everything
Yeah,
until we
all the
choose
things.
all the things, whether it be breath or digestion or fighting off sickness or carrying a baby. It's doing all of these things that we're just not consciously aware of. So for me, we begin to have a conversation between our minds, our souls, our spirits, and this animal body, this sovereign being that we have. And what that does is, open up this other world of sensation and feeling things that we didn't know were still in there, or that maybe didn't have resolution from the past. Or at least that's how it was for me when I started my somatic journey, first by being a client, first by being a patient, for years before I even got into the work. So I really love that you're highlighting kind of the both, and how we're not just dealing 100% with the body in a session, although it's included, but we're also sharing stories and talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, was there a question in there? Or
No, just me just going off.
No, I love it. I love it. It's true though. Like I feel like I spent a lot of time listening to myself talk and going round and round and round in my head on
Mm-hmm.
some things, or feeling like, oh, well, I mean, I seem fine with that thing that happened, because like I don't feel any emotions, so it must be resolved and fine.
Yeah.
And then you sit with it for a minute, and like the body told a different story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think it's so important. I mean, it's amazing that it's like coming more to the forefront of, I don't know, I feel like everyone's consciousness these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wisdom of the body.
The wisdom of the body. And I wonder if you would like to share just kind of what you were experiencing before you came in for sessions. What were the main things that you were wanting to look at? Of course, if you're comfortable sharing that information with me and with
Yeah.
our listeners.
Yeah, I think so. I think I think there was like there was like lingering events in my life that I felt I hadn't processed properly, or I felt like it was just time to take another look at them, which I don't even know if I wasn't feeling it. That was the thing. It was like they were just always in my mind. Like, did I just shove that into the back corner and like forget about it? Or does it need to be processed in order for me to move forward? I feel like the last year and a half, 2 years, like for context, my kids are about to turn 4. Like have felt kind of stagnant in life. And I mean, I know that's part of like, I think early motherhood where you're just like, who am I and what is going on here? And
Mhm.
I don't have the energy to do anything because I was quite, and I mean, I'm getting more sleep now, but quite sleep deprived for the first 2, 3 years. And so, yeah, just like a feeling of being stagnant, which was kind of what kicked off this wave of healing, which started prior to my work with you.
Mm.
And I do feel like I got things moving. And then again, like I said, like I needed some resolution around like what I shook loose.
Mm.
But yeah, there was sort of like an ongoing, like, I don't want to say depression because it's a bit of a strong word, but
Yeah.
sort of a low mood and sadness that followed me around. And yeah, and just this desire to move forward in life, and like feeling like these things could be holding me back, and wanting to give it a try to see if it might help to bring some light to them and some care to them. But yeah, it was like, I won't get into the
Yeah.
specifics, but like childhood trauma that, I went to therapy when I was younger a little bit to like kind of help a bit, but I never really got into it. Like I didn't have the capacity to fully hold those memories or look at them or heal them. And then there was what ended up coming up through our sessions was like birth trauma. Lots of that was a surprising one for me that day. I didn't know we were going to do that.
Me either.
Like experience a little white hot rage. Like I was like, oh, that's why it's called white hot, because if you get mad enough, you can't see anything and everything turns white. Like that was a wild ride. We could talk about that more because that one's easier for me to talk about. But
Mm.
and then also like my divorce and how a number of years ago, and how that event has shaped some of just the ways that I show up everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah.
And how interestingly that is coupled in my body with the childhood trauma, and also with my other attachment wounds from childhood, which aren't related to trauma, but just
Yeah.
related to how I was raised.
That's right.
And actually that was an important piece for, I think, the begin our first few sessions together was just the attachment theory
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and like really helpful for me in understanding myself and having like compassion for myself, which I feel like is like a foundational piece
Yeah.
of doing this work. It's like being able to see yourself and like have understanding and grace for all the weird things we do as adults.
Yeah. And I love what you're speaking to because it's always such a surprise, which is why I also really enjoy working with attachment and somatic therapy because they kind of go hand in hand, and although, a small percentage of us didn't have things come up in our childhood. I can't even say a small percentage. I would go all in and say nobody got out of childhood without any wounds. And that is because we're also individual how we take things in, and I've said this before, it's like something that's, a situation that is traumatic for one person is not traumatic for someone else, and of course it's never the situation, it's how we internalize what's happened to us. And, we have our loving parents or caregivers or people around us that we're surrounded in. And, everybody is just doing what they learned to do. And so,
Yeah.
and that's why I look at this also as generational, because until we become aware of the ways that we were hurt when we were small and kind of heal those things and are brave enough to look in those places, the cycle continues. And then we guilt ourselves. Fuck, I should have done better for my kids. Like, why did I yell at them? Why did I not give them the attention that they deserved? Why, and we're so hard on ourselves, not realizing that, it lives within us, just like it lives within our parents and their parents before, so it's really touching and brave and courageous to go into those places, because it could literally be something as simple as I was left home alone after school. I didn't know where my parents were, or I thought I didn't know where my parents were. And holy shit, that really affected me. I have this hilarious story that I would call my grandma. So we had one of those rotary phones, and I knew her number. She was one of our caregivers, which I loved, being able to spend that time with her and learn from her. And my parents would literally be downstairs hanging out in the basement, and I would call Nana, just waking up and not being able to find anyone. It'd be 9 o'clock at night. I'd be like, oh my God, Nana, Tara and I are home alone. Mom and dad were like nowhere to be found.
Oh, no.
Freaking out and really freaking out.
Yeah.
And, Nana would say, okay, well, sweetie, she would give me some words of kindness and all this. And then we would hang up and she would call back. And then, of course, my parents would answer the phone in the basement.
Yeah.
And be like, no, Nana, we're home. We have not left the children. For those of you wishing to dive into the world of somatic healing and get a taste of what it's like to discover the wisdom of your body, I'm offering $100 off my signature course, Reclaiming Resilience, to the listeners of this episode. It is a self-paced 5-week course that teaches you how to be with big emotions and sensations. It expands your capacity for more joy, more love, and more pleasure, while you also learn how to access your boundaries, intuition, and build safety within your body. Essentially, you'll be learning how to harness the power of your nervous system and welcome in more clarity, authentic communication, and fulfilling relationships. In the program, we are changing the way that we perceive ourselves, our patterns, and our limiting beliefs, as well as finding our unique voice. Use the code, all caps, feel good at checkout. And for those of you who are seeking one-on-one support, I also offer coaching and therapy packages and one-on-one sessions. I'll pop all of that information in the show notes. And now let's get back to the show. Yeah.
Like sweet child Lisa. Like, oh.
Yeah. Like, where are they?
They're not here.
They're not here. And so for me, I always internalized I was scared, and of course there was other traumatic things that happened that contributed to that, not via my parents, but my whole attachment system was skewed, from those earlier events. And so everything I was internalizing, I'm alone, I've been abandoned, and that continued on in my adult relationship. So it's wild, those little things, and we can never know. And that's why in parenthood, you just do the best that you can, because you don't know what thing, what look, whatever is going to stick,
Yeah.
So that leads into my next question. How has this work impacted the way that you parent or are with your kids? If you have something to share on that.
Yeah, definitely. And first though, I want to sort of respond to your story, because I swear, like, you and I have really similar attachment wounds. And so, which is part of, I also love this modality because there's a little more space for back and forth. It's not just the therapist over there with no trauma, or no issues.
All the trauma. Okay.
Yeah, it was like so good for me to be with someone who could be, I know, I do that too. And I was like, you do that? Like, really?
Yeah.
Because even your example, it was, when I was older and being left after school or even before school, because my mom worked long shifts and she assumed I was fine, or, didn't want to get her 12-year-old a babysitter.
Yeah.
And I was not fine. That was not fine for me, especially just based on her being pretty she worked a lot when I was
Yeah,
really little, which like, and
totally.
I don't remember, I was never like upset with her for that, but
Hmm.
I think it just like, I didn't, it, like you said, it skewed my attachment in a way that anything that happened later felt even worse than it should have.
Yeah.
Or like I should have been able to be at home for a couple hours after school, but it was very alarming to me.
Yeah.
Even though I knew she was coming home, I still, but yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know, riff on that, I guess, because just relate to that feeling. Yeah. And so yes, parenthood. So now I have children who dysregulate me on the regular, all day long, every day. I'm just taking deep breaths in the corner, like trying not to rage at them. Oh, yeah. I think, well, I mean, with great awareness of yourself comes this, I don't know, this like terror that you are going to somehow damage your children because you
Mm,
just know, oh, your parent did something super subtle, be in the basement or
yeah.
not where you're expecting them to be. And it like, it completely, I don't know,
It's
damages
stuck.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sticks.
It sticks.
And then you're like, oh God, which are they gonna remember that I sang them to sleep every night? Or are they gonna remember that I every now and then let out a primal scream? I'm
Both.
not I'm not
Both.
sure. Yeah, so and I think having twins too, it was just a double whammy. Like I would go so far as to say it was, you know, 5 times as hard as having one baby, just because
Mm,
it's already new. Like it's not just times two. It's like it's exponentially harder when you don't know what you're doing to get
yeah.
two at once and who weren't good sleepers. And you know, my
Uh-huh.
son still is not a good sleeper. So
Yep.
oh man, I don't even know where to start because it's been I maybe I'll start with like I noticed after some of our early sessions that I would be really regulated for a couple of days after because it would be so cathartic and I would just be like at peace
Mm,
for a couple of days. And I would notice that so would my children. They
yeah.
would be, if I was feeling good and regulated and, you know, able to roll with the unexpected things,
That's
they
right.
would also be able to.
Yep.
I just realized how powerful that connection is to
Mhm.
my nervous system with their nervous system and just how we like feed each other's emotions. Like if they get dysregulated and I respond with more dysregulation, it just makes it worse for them.
That's right.
um which is so enraging because like you have to take like you they can't take care of your nervous system,
That's
so you
right.
have to do it. And so there's a sense of like self-responsibility that really comes into
Hmm.
play
Yeah.
where you know if you take good care of yourself and whatever you need that day to feel, and maybe the word regulated is overused these days, but to
Yeah.
feel regulated, to
Yeah.
feel capable
To
of
feel
managing,
capable. Yeah.
yeah, of
Yeah.
managing stress or an unexpected fit or crying or loud sounds or whatever. Because
Yeah.
for me, noise is a huge trigger of dysregulation. Like if I'm off at all noise is bad. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's happy noise or hard noise. So I think I lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah, I there's just this piece where like you have more of an incentive, I think,
Mm,
to care for yourself so that you can care for your children.
that's right.
Yeah. I don't know. They just it feels like our nervous systems are all one big blob.
And that is absolutely true. I say this a lot. As children, we're just piggybacking on our parents' nervous system. We're learning how to be in the world and how to take things in through our parents' ability to be with their own emotions, to have, the capacity to be with the little one's emotions, to really sit with them. And that's not going to happen 100% of the time, and nor could it. One thing is guaranteed in life: there's going to be triggers, there's going to be activations. Can we get, or how much can we develop our skills to be with, it all and not just the things that we like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like
And I hope yeah.
reparenting, basically, not
Yeah.
letting your own little child get triggered so that you're suddenly parenting your child with your wounded inner child.
Yes.
Like that's what it
Yeah, and
is.
that happens
Yeah,
sometimes. And
it
I'm just
totally
like,
does.
oh shoot, well,
Yeah.
she shouldn't be in charge. She's
Well,
not, she is not equipped
exactly.
for this.
Right. And then repair can happen.
Yeah.
So it's not just the, oh my God, I've screwed up the kids. The ability there is, wow, I can apologize and I can explain that, mommy's not mad at them. She was just whatever it is, and that
Yeah.
stuff helps, and
Yeah.
I think we've even talked about this, the thing where we didn't really receive apologies from, our
Yeah.
folks. I know I didn't. Some kids did. Maybe you did. I don't know. I didn't, and
No.
that would have helped. Or like, when our parents send us to our rooms to think about what we've done without any explanation, then we feel, oh my God, I actually don't know what to do. I'm not thinking this as a child. My brain development is not there to know what I've done wrong. And now I have to sit and stew in silence. Right. So it's these things that are passed down. It's like, yeah, just give them a timeout. But like giving a timeout with proper love and support
Yeah.
and explanation of what's going on leads to, I got to do everything on my own. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
understands me. I don't understand my own emotions because I didn't have help with them. All of these things. So again, tangent, just like go on tangents
No,
for
but
days.
it's so good. I love tangents. Ah,
So all
yeah,
of
no,
those things. Yeah.
it's in, well, and even that, like, I don't know that I was like a kid who got sent to their room very often, but I do remember the times that I was,
Mm-hmm.
because I would be, upset and alone and not sure what to do with myself. And
Yeah.
so like something I do with my kids is when they're freaking out or being a pain in the butt or not listening, or there's
Mm.
something like, often there's a separation that occurs, like where I move them somewhere, but like I go with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take a moment before I
Yeah.
go in, but I never leave them
Totally.
alone, because I'm like, well, that's not going to help. That's just going to make them more upset.
Yeah.
So it's, even just those little adjustments that you make to a tool that, like, moving to a different room is a good tool because it changes the environment and
That's
stuff, but you
right.
don't leave them alone. You sit with them and you try to understand and you try to talk to them, which forces you to regulate yourself.
That's right.
Because if
Both.
you're going
Yeah.
to actually speak to them and listen, you have to make space. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's something I do fairly well with my kids, which I'm like pretty happy about. And I notice
Mm.
when I'm upset that they come and they like comfort me, which is just interesting when you do something and then they mirror
Yeah.
everything you do.
Exactly.
They're little monkeys, they just
Yeah.
copy you. And so when you see them doing like those behaviors, you're just like, oh, okay, that's it's stuck. I'm not just, like if it feels good to them, then they'll give it back to you
Mm.
in their little ways that they do. There was something else that popped in my head, but oh, I also hope that like showing my children a range of emotions is a good thing,
Yeah.
at least on some level, because
Absolutely.
I feel like so much of navigating, I don't know, adulthood for me has been like feeling like there's nowhere for my feelings to exist.
Mm.
Like they're
Exactly.
just too much for
Yeah.
everybody. And
Exactly.
they typically are
Mm.
still. Like that's the feedback I get from other adults, is that
Mm.
like, sure, yes, but within this container, or only this many texts, or only this much time, or like there's all these like, and of course we all have our own boundaries and things that we need, and it
That's
makes
right.
sense, but I always feel so contained, like
Mm.
there's nowhere for it, the lid to come off.
Mm.
And I think it's because as a child, like I just didn't see anyone lose their shit. Like I didn't see anyone punch a pillow when they were mad, or like
Exactly.
scream and then be like, sorry, I just needed to release my anger,
Yeah.
or do really, like, was really emotional and crying a lot. Like I just didn't see a lot of that. And I also didn't have siblings growing up. So like there was just less, there was just less for me
Yeah.
to take in.
Yeah.
And so I hope that like in showing my children a full range of emotions, which I have,
Yeah. Of
that
course.
that's also teaching them something about like it's okay
Yeah.
uh to like freak out. And if you say something mean or you scare someone because you you that you can apologize after and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry about that. You know, part like just because I do feel like I show up like pretty raw with my kids sometimes. So
Yeah.
I hope that that's not just scary for them. Like I don't think I'm pretty confident that it's good for them to experience it all.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Moderation is key. And if there is something that you're doing that's causing harm, whether it's, oh my God, always yelling at them or whatever it is, we have to take a look at those things, right? And potentially, you know, do the work, scream into the pillow, do the anger thing so that we're not directing it at people all the time, right? And as we grow and as we get better at it, it becomes this healthy outlet that we know what to do with that doesn't, you know, overwhelm us and the folks around us. And there's a whole other element of, you know, being a woman and expressing anger and rage, right? Having
that's like
examples of that, it's starting to be more, and
yeah.
it's uncomfortable. Have you ever witnessed someone just throw a fit, a grown ass woman, and just been like, oh, damn, like she just, it's uncomfortable to witness, especially if we didn't have examples of it. Like, this is valid rage. Like, maybe she's just swinging punches in the street or whatever she's doing. It doesn't matter. If she's doing it in rage, it feels somehow unacceptable, you
Yeah.
know, and that has to change, and I think it is changing. So that can take a long time to reclaim and feel comfortable, you know, even if we've screamed into a pillow or even if we've done rage exercises. If it's new, meaning you hadn't done it previous and you've been around for 30, 40 years, that means it's new and it takes practice, you know, and some time to allow our systems to know that it's safe, you know, to do that and to express that. So I love it because it teaches more of the range that we're capable of within ourselves, and no feeling is not welcome,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes. Yeah. The anger and
Yeah.
rage piece was big for me. I feel
Yeah.
that was like it was not my intention to come to you to work on like my repressed rage.
Yeah.
And it just was, oh, is this a safe place to come out? And like even
Mm-hmm.
in the session, it was still hard to let it all the way out. Because I was like, well, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is crazy and insane of me to like be this angry and to
Mm.
want to say these things to this person from the past. And yeah,
Yeah.
and like actually it's funny because I think anger is like one of the biggest things I deal with in motherhood. I
Yeah.
have a pretty easy time expressing sadness
That's
or
right.
stress
More
or
acceptable.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then anger, it's like I don't remember because I'm like is sometimes we like do the same things that our parents did, but I feel like I do the opposite
Yeah.
things that
It
my
can go
parents
either way. Yep.
like I don't remember people being angry with me when I was little. Like not at all. Like it was I had nice people around me, people who cared about me. Like I no one
Mm.
was angry at me. No one shouted. No one said you know, should do better or like there was no stern, but like that's what comes out of me is
Yeah.
this anger, this like and I'm like, where did that come from? Because like that wasn't modeled to me. Not that I were,
Totally.
you know, I'm sure here and there, but like
Yeah.
it's not like a big memory for me or anything. And so it's just interesting because I've been trying to place it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just all of the anger that I haven't expressed in my life
That's right.
because it's not safe to do so or not accepted. Or in my case, it's really tied into the story of if I express my anger, then I will lose the person, like
Yeah.
the abandonment wounds there. So
Exactly.
yeah, and like through that I've learned and I'm still working on like even just expressing like or engaging in conflict with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
you know, expressing my anger and feeling like no, I am allowed to be angry right now.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful I think in my relationship of like yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need to express that in order to have healthy conflicts and take up all the space that we are allowed to take up. So
Totally. And I mean, especially if we've experienced significant trauma, like you and I both have,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't even require us to, you know, remember other instances where, we've been abandoned or where people have hurt us. That fight that got trapped in here because we didn't know what to do with it, we didn't have an outlet for it. That's it. That fight just gets lodged in our body and it comes out in the most inconvenient times in a lot of ways. And it's scary because it's been there for such a long time and it can feel so overwhelming. And so definitely anger. Anger was different for me because I was always quick to, tell someone that I'm angry, so that was modeled to me.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, that was modeled
Sagittarius.
to me. Yeah, through my dad, and he was, a martial artist, but he also, he yelled a lot, and it's just that's how it went for me. And I could always have access to that, but I felt it would go from 0 to 100, that white hot rage, which I thought was just normal. I would like say, it's my Irish blood. I'm Sagittarius, and just totally bypass, whoever got in the way. And most of the time it was my husband. And he's like, so wait a second, you're allowed to have this white hot rage that I just have to take, and it's hurtful. And oh my God. And you can just say, that's just who I am. And
Mhm.
that's what I did for 7 years of our relationship, until one day after I had done the nervous system work and gone through my system and really healed and tended to and built my capacity, I could pause. And I didn't know that I could pause. I had no idea that there was an ability before I was about to lose my shit to pause and make a different choice. And when
Mm-hmm.
that started to happen, that's when things started to change. That doesn't mean I never lose my temper, but man, I don't yell or scream near as much as I once did. My ability to be with my own anger, my own pain, and all of that is a direct result of tending to and building capacity. And that's wonderful when it changes, relationships over time. And again, it's usually not immediate. So I guess that's also a question I had for you. How how have you noticed that you're different in navigating relationships, whether that be with your husband or in friendships? What are some things that you can point to that have really stuck out since doing this kind of work that were surprising?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm definitely still a work in progress. I feel like
Me
I've had
too.
this recent wave where like all my old patterns sort of like, we're like, wait a second,
That's what they
I want to
do.
do it this way. And I was like,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. I actually resolved that. So if you could get out of here, just beat it.
The pause where you're having
um,
a conversation.
hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
or like that pull to like to not be the bigger person or not pause or not like the
That's
pull
right.
downward. I
Yeah.
feel it. I feel it. It is not gone, but
Yeah.
I have noticed, and thankfully I have a very like uh I don't know what the right word is for my partner, but like I guess emotionally aware, like
Mm,
this is he speaks this language as much as you and I do, maybe in a slightly different way, but like he understands, which is helpful. But he has given me feedback that like I often now will ask before I unload. I will
mhm.
ask before, yeah, just like to before I take up all the space because I will like when I'm overflowing with emotion or something, I'm moving through something hard or I need to talk something out, I would just burst at the seams and like
Yeah.
take up everything, whether or not he was ready, whether or not he had time. And it's
Yeah.
still difficult when you need that and the other person doesn't have time or isn't
Totally.
ready or has their own stuff they're dealing with and they're just like, I can't do this for you right now.
Yeah.
It's still difficult to receive that, but I the more positive like feedback you get, it's like the times that I have done it, and it's not like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I ask this time. It's starting to come naturally,
Yeah.
to be like, I feel like I need something. I need co-regulation. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it is yet, but like, do you have space right now? And like, he'll be like, oh, I really like that you asked me before you
Mm-hmm.
just started talking, or whatever. Doesn't mean we do it perfectly every time, but
Of course. There's no
it's
perfect ever. We
why
want it
not?
to
Why
be.
not? I'd be really good at perfect. Like, can we
Me
just,
too.
that would be so nice. Just gold stars, check marks, be delightful. Well
Yes.
behaved today.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Oh no. Oh, but yeah, I do think I've gotten better at that. I feel like in my in with my partner, with my husband, I'm it's the safest place for me to practice that. I feel
Hmm.
like extending it beyond that is still a work in progress, like knowing how to ask, friends, or I don't know, just those check-in points where you're
Yeah.
like, is this okay? And I mean, I guess I do that a little more. I'm a
Yeah.
little more aware of like, is it like, can I tell this story right now? Can we just go there? Can I just like drop the thing where I'm like, I know
Yeah.
I shouldn't be angry. Can I just be angry for a few minutes and we can really get into
Yeah.
it? So I think I like, boundaries wise, I'm learning how to navigate that a bit better.
Totally.
Um,
I was about to say boundaries because when we make boundaries for ourselves, we get better at honoring others' boundaries. Whereas once we might have just
yeah,
blown through them and not even realized, but our people realized, and it never feels good, but often there's no language for that,
yeah,
you
yeah. And
know.
even, or if you're talking to someone who doesn't know what their boundaries are,
That's
so you kind
right.
of have
But
to
you
be
know
like,
yours. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or you at least know to find some language that resonates with them, to, just
That's
like,
right.
even just, do you have the time to listen for a while
Yeah.
I complain
Totally.
about something or whatever it is. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
You're attuning to the people around you, which if there's attachment wounds and trauma, that's not necessarily something we learned because we weren't attuned to enough of the time to know
yeah,
how to do that for others. So I love that you're bringing this up because it's important. It's such an important part of the conversation. It involves the sacred pause, and it also involves boundary work, which are often, they're mysterious. Did you have an understanding of this is what boundary work would look like until you actually did it? Because I know that I didn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, or even realizing when you have stepped over
that's right.
a boundary, and then you're just like,
Yeah,
sorry, I'll just
exactly.
be retreating over here now for a
Yeah,
moment and give this some air and some space, so
yeah.
that we can come back together another time. Or um oh, I had a thought, and then I do this a lot. I have so many things to say that
No,
they like
girl.
pile up in my brain and then they disappear. Oh, I mean, this is maybe kind of a random example, but I've noticed when I am like having needing to process something and I'm emotional, and this might be unconventional, but I've noticed that if I have a phone call conversation with my
Mm-hmm.
husband instead of a face-to-face conversation, that it's so much easier for both of us to be there for each other in the way
Yeah.
that we need to. And
Mm,
even last night, I was having a hard time with something to do with my business, and he didn't have a lot of capacity, but he was willing to be on the phone with me while he was doing some other things.
yeah.
So he was able to keep moving. He didn't have to like stop everything and focus on me.
Yep.
And I noticed while I was talking to him that I was rocking and I was shaking my arms
Self-soothing.
and I was
Yes.
shaking my, I know, I
I'm
was like,
doing it
he's gonna
with
be
you now. I'm like, yes.
so proud of me right now. Cause like I was like regulating my body while I was talking,
Exactly.
like subconsciously.
Yes.
And then I noticed I was doing it and I was like, oh, if I was sitting on the couch facing him right now, I would be crying and blowing and being like, sorry, I'm so annoying. I would be like
Mm,
imploding on myself because I would feel like I would look weird if I started doing those things. And like, so
yeah.
like having a conversation like that without eyes on me was so helpful. Like,
Mm,
because not only did I get the talking piece out and the processing, but I also, by the time the conversation was done, even though necessarily like the problem wasn't resolved,
yeah.
I had calmed my body down.
That's
Like it was
right.
like two separate things were happening. Like you said
Exactly.
in the beginning, I was just having this Z. I knew it was a good example, but it was just fascinating to watch like these, because along with working with you, I did your nervous system course too, which
Mm,
gave sort of more like tangible tools you can use
that's
when
right.
you are distressed or when you're noticing, or like to make yourself feel safe in a new environment or whatever. All those tools are so tangible, and like, I don't remember all of them or whatever, but some of them stick.
Mm, yeah.
And I think when you have kids, you get more opportunity to practice them, because like
Yeah.
it's more acceptable to look like a weirdo
That's right.
with your kids, or like just to notice what they do with their bodies. And
Yeah.
um yeah, anyways.
Mm. I think that that was a really great example of you learning how to self regulate.
Tiny applause.
I mean, it's a big applause. I don't want to clap into the microphone, but holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That right there is huge. And even to ask for support and have someone tell you, honey, look, I just can't right now. And for you to just, be like, okay, that was hard. Okay, now what do I got? I know I can do this. I know I can do this. I know I can do this. I know that I can hold myself in my discomfort, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to completely throw me off. And sometimes it still will. It depends on the situation. But again, this ability to be with ourselves in the places that hurt and when we're feeling uncomfortable. For an anxious attached person, which I resonate with that, I resonate with all of them because I've gone through cycles of being a disorganized attacher, an avoidant attacher, and an anxious attacher. And within me, I know what each of those states feel like. So when I'm able to bring it back home, when I'm able to feel safe and bring it back home and remind myself that I'm here in this moment, touching and attuning to my body and being with, this state that's meant to just be clouds in the sky, right? Bringing in that meditative state where we don't have to attach and grab onto all of them and pull them in and make them sticky, and when we develop that ability, we just get better and better at it over time. And so that also leads into my next question, social. So going to a party or to a public event or all of that, are there changes that you've noticed within that, your ability to be present with other people and for yourself while being uncomfortable or whatever that might look like?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I don't get out much, so I have limited,
Me either.
I
Oh, no.
have limited examples. But I'm trying to think, because like I'm an extroverted person. I love to chat. I love to
Mm,
sort of like, I always end up having runaway conversations with people. I often would like feel like I left social events thinking like, oh, I should have like detached from that conversation and actually checked in with the other people there, or
mm,
like I would kind of just lose control of my interactions, I feel.
yeah.
I mean, I have been out a couple of times this year, and I just noticed that I'm a lot better at not oversharing. Like,
Mm,
and not, it is sort of like another example of where you can just pause. It's like you don't have to tell the person every story you
that's
have.
right.
You can like say something and then just wait and see what they'll say. Like they
Yeah.
might want to speak. And like I love other people's stories, but I get nervous and then I start talking and then I just talk
Mm,
forever. And so I've definitely had more self-awareness in those situations and better conversations because they're slower.
mhm.
I feel safe in my body, or I notice if I don't, and I can do things to settle myself, even if it's just like rocking a bit or orienting myself in the
Yeah.
room or taking a break, like going to the washroom or stepping outside or just slowing down, usually.
Yeah. Slowing it
Just
down.
like taking a breath and like speaking slower,
Mm,
or saying, oh, I lost my train of thought. Like, did you want to say something? Or, yeah, I just feel way more present in social interactions, like
yeah.
less nervous energy floating around in my body. And yeah, I think I generally have enjoyed those interactions more. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like go home wondering, what I missed, or did I ask enough questions, or did I not listen to that person at all? Or
Yeah.
um, it just feels more comfortable for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an introvert. Like I'm not uncomfortable in social situations, but I was always kind of uncomfortable in my body, I think.
Yeah. And that's
Um,
a huge piece. I'm so glad that you brought that up because a lot of times, and this is not every time, there's no hard, fast rule for any of this, right? What we know is that when we can turn down the dial of all the noise that's going on internally, we can begin to hear ourselves. We can begin to meet ourselves where we're at. And usually what that means is it builds this kind of inner peace within and this presence that allows us to not give in to social anxiety, and I don't
mhm,
even know if that's the right wording or not, but it's more like we become comfortable relating to others without always needing something to say. Like there was a point in time, a good example for me for this is there was a point in time where I wasn't really listening to people talk. I was rehearsing while they're talking about what I was going to say next, what question I was going to ask, all of these things. And it didn't lead to more connection. For me, it led to more disconnection, even though I was the one that was bringing that forward. And I mean, the other person could have been doing that as well. But it allowed me the ability, like you, to really be present and get curious about the other person instead of always just bringing it back to my state. I got to tell this person this. Oh shit. I got to like all these things that are like,
yeah, this frantic need to tell someone everything related to the thing they just said that
That's right.
that
Yeah.
it's like
It's
what?
like totally this yearning to be known,
Yeah.
in like all the ways, which can happen over time in a relationship.
Yeah, or like can happen in bits and pieces in different
Yes,
contexts. Like there's
that's right.
this part of me, like these, all these women at this women's circle don't need to know my whole life story in order for me to get something out of this
Yeah,
sharing that I'm
that's
about
right.
to do. It's like I can just share one piece of it and like that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to say it all or talk for 20 minutes. I can just like think about it and like yeah, it's like the internal safety is there. Like you're not
Yeah,
panicky about people knowing you because you know you.
yeah,
For me,
yeah,
at least, that's been a piece of it.
totally. Absolutely. 100%. Knowing yourself more. I mean, what it really comes down to is making space for all of the experiences to be there and not just shunning some while welcoming others, remembering that each and every one of us have access to this whole array of feeling and emotion, and we're not alone, we're not in isolation, which can often happen when we feel like there's something wrong with us. I was talking about this the other day in a session, this idea of when we come to our body and we're like, and this was me for like most of my life, I need to fix you, you're broken. Okay. So body being its own sovereign being is screw you, lady. Like this isn't making me feel safe to open up. But when I come in and I'm like, hey body, I'm not here to fix you. I want to get to know you. I want to see what you're feeling and I have genuine concern and love for you. That's a completely different way to approach being with ourselves and being with others. If we have any fixers in the crowd, like I was, I'd be like, I got the, prior to doing this work, I got what you need. I got what you need. And sometimes that's helpful for sure. But also, human design is a whole other tangent, but I'm a projector. So offering unsolicited advice is never a good idea for me, like ever. It gets taken the wrong way and people, oh my God, like I didn't ask for that. It's given me the ability to be like, do you just need someone to listen, or would you like some advice, or would you like some sharing on my part? Which
Yeah.
I didn't have that filter before, saying boundaries. Someone's coming to me and right away I'm like, I'm gonna save you. I
Yeah.
can't be with your uncomfortability. I
Yeah.
can't
Like,
be with it.
have you tried therapy? Have you tried this latest supplement?
my God, all the things.
Green smoothies.
Yeah. And so if people are asking me for that stuff, I'm like, great. I'm like, come sit around the table. I have stories for
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
but if
I have
they're
a
not,
database of
yeah, like
resources.
I'm like, hold on, let me pull out my Rolodex.
Yeah. Are you feeling body work,
Yeah,
or are you thinking more spiritual based
that's
healing?
right.
What do you need? What do you need? I have someone for all
You
those
need
things. I'm just,
astrology reading, human design, what
yeah.
you need. I got someone. I got it.
Yeah. I got astrology girls. I got psychic
Mm.
astrologers. I got whatever you want. Sorry. I just
Exactly.
really relate to that feeling, but
Totally. Yeah. I
um,
mean, so many of us fixers can because we don't, and this is not the only reason, but for me and for so many folks, it's this inability to be with others' discomfort because we never knew how to be with our own. So
mhm.
that's kind of the point I was getting at, and how glorious it feels to not always be coming at life like that. I need fixing, you need fixing, and that takes time, and there's still times that I do that. I'm like, oh, for God's sake, this thing again, you know. Whereas now I can stop and just be like, oh, it's just another piece of this thing that I haven't given space to yet. And that's okay. There'll be time for it. So
Yeah.
back to that self-compassion piece that you were speaking to, comes back to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this conversation is very timely right now because I'm
Mm.
like, right, there's time.
The
There's still
reminder.
time. Yes, because last night I was like, what the heck? I did
Yeah.
do all this work and I'm still a hot mess sometimes.
Yeah. And it can feel that way sometimes, you
Yeah.
know? And then we have to remember that there's a lot of things that we haven't been listening to within ourselves, over time. And so as
Yeah.
we keep on remembering by having conversations like this one and continuing on the journey of, not just healing. And I was speaking to this the other day, this idea of it's not even self-improvement, it's self-empowerment. And I love that
Hmm.
angle because not everything that I'm doing these days anyway is just to get, you know, over wounding so I can function better. It's more like, how I have a desire to see where I can take this, to see how deep I can go and how much juice I can, come into contact with my own being. And it's so cool, the things that come from that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, for me, so much of this work has been about, maybe before I get to the empowerment part, is just self-knowledge. It's
Yeah.
like knowing myself inside and out so that
Mm-hmm.
it's like, which builds trust in
Yeah.
yourself because you
Self-trust.
know how certain things will perhaps trigger you, or like when you're
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation, like the knowledge, if you have the knowledge first, you can at least see yourself,
That's right.
and in that, then you learn to like harness, the things that you're good at, and put boundaries around the parts that aren't as solid, and like
Yeah.
it's like that's, and then hopefully over time you build that confidence in yourself, the
Mm-hmm.
self-empowerment, and like, and yeah, it's like this desire just to like go as deep as possible and turn over every stone. Like I part of me is like, wouldn't it be simpler if I didn't care to do that? But I do. It's not in pursuit of being healed
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I want to know
I want to know. Yeah.
so I can optimize my experience here,
Totally.
and not make it perfect, but just make it more,
Yeah.
get more out of it, just like you were saying there.
It's like your potential. You want to see this
Yeah.
hidden potential that's been kind of just living behind the thick layer of whatever things that we haven't looked at. It takes on this whole new meaning of our deepest fears and our deepest traumas lead to our greatest kind of victories, which, I don't know if that's 100% all the time, but in my experience, all of the things that I've been scared of sharing my voice,
Yeah.
scared of showing up to, scared of looking at, have led to this potential that I was like, oh my God, that's in there too. Holy, would I
Yeah.
never have guessed that that was in there too? And it's this moment where our desires can actually meet up with what our bodies want. instead of one portion being over here and the other portion being over there. They're actually in conversation. And when they're not, I know how to tend to, you know, my body experiencing me being seen, which could be different than me just being like, I'm building my capacity to be seen. Okay, well, while you're doing that, what's happening in your body? Does it want to be seen right now? And if it doesn't, how can I be supportive of this? I can remind it. Like, we're doing this. It's scary. I know. Holy shit. Can you believe it? We're not scared anymore, or we are a little bit, but here we are showing up to the plate in a different way. So, yeah, experiences, all the life experiences. So, what are you passionate about right now? What's coming up for you? I know you're in a in-between space of, you know, wow, just all of these self-discoveries. Is there anything that you're, you know, looking into that you wish more people knew about, or, you know, could experience for themselves, or wish, you know, people had more information on? It's kind of a loaded question, but
I know. I feel
like
like
ask it.
I know. I don't have an immediate answer. I am in the weird in between space of motherhood, and I have my business, which is like running over there, and I do my little bit for that. And we are moving, you know, next year. So there's still this giant space between where I'm at and where I feel like there's something that's going to be revealed for me when we move, when I'm in the forest. Like the other day I was like,
forest, yes.
I was like using my oracle cards. Like, what do I need? Like, what's the thing? And like, it's like pull the forest card. And I was like, I know it's in the forest, but I'm not in the forest yet. And so like, until then, what should I do with myself? Like, and so I'm kind of in this weird tug of war between just be present. You are doing the things, you're raising the children, you have a business, like you have a work, you're not working. I forget that I'm still working sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm just a mother who just runs a business on the side. Like, it's still a job, but so I'm just always trying to be more present with myself while also being open to something new coming through for me, a training I might want to take, or because I know in the next phase of life there'll be something else for me. I just don't know what it is yet. So I'm trying to stay open while not forcing anything. And you know, I took a training a couple of weeks ago that was just so random. It was a sound healing training. And it's not because I'm going to become a sound healer tomorrow. I just was like, this is interesting. And I actually have a similar thing with my voice where I'm trying to figure out what it's for, because I feel like the way that I talk and the way that I write and like the amount of things I have stashed away that I have written and said and voice notes, and it's for something, but I don't know what it's for yet. So I don't know. I guess I don't have like a thing that it's like I wish I had an answer to that question, but I will one day.
It sounds like you had a great answer to that question.
Oh, well, I mean, I always have an answer. I could always talk about something, but I didn't. It's not, I'm passionate about astrology, which I am, but I guess it's just this kind of staying open and seeing what will come through. And it is kind of like on a bigger, it's a bigger example of the like sacred pause, is like letting the pause be the pause, even if the pause is 3 years long.
That's right.
In the grand scheme of things, if I stop moving, stop chasing after everything, like what would come through? Like I am curious. And so I really have to learn, or am learning, how to not like jump at every single opportunity that comes my way that I would like to sign up for. Because I'm like the queen of signing up for things. And I think motherhood has really helped slow me down a bit because I just don't have the energy I used to have. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I like say this with not that much confidence because I'm still learning it, but this ability to be in a pause, in an in between, and like let it be enough as it is. You know, and I'm still doing my self work and doing my self-exploration. I'm not just quietly meditating in the corner
Yeah.
yet. Not yet.
I don't know if that's actually possible for,
Well,
most folks,
after bedtime, maybe.
after bedtime, maybe 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. But
So
yeah,
I feel like being present with children is the ultimate meditation.
yeah,
Like
yes.
my desire to escape the present moment when I'm just chilling with my kids is strong. Like if
Mm,
you can master that, you do not need to be meditating in a quiet corner.
that's right.
If you can be present while there are children with you and all you have to do is see what happens next, see what happens next,
Yeah,
and care for them and feed them, see what happens next. If you can do that, like you can do anything, I'm pretty sure.
totally.
I feel like
I
I just
mean,
had an epiphany, but
yeah,
okay.
you basically spoke to living life as a walking meditation. And
Yeah.
that is presence, being
Yeah.
present to what is. That's kind of what we're going for when we sit in long bouts of meditation or walking meditation or watching your kids and just having this ability to tune into what's happening moment to moment. It's beautiful the way that you express that. And holy shit,
I have full body tingles right now.
yeah,
I was just like, oh shit, that's it. Like I don't need a meditation practice. I just
no,
have to be a mother. Just
that's
have to be
right.
present in motherhood.
Mhm.
And then I'll be practicing it because it is difficult for me not to pick up my phone, not
Of
to,
course.
and I mean, you can still get stuff done. Like it's not like,
Yeah,
but that's all your kids want from you is your presence. And
that's right.
all right,
Well,
I'm
I'm
gonna
taking,
quote myself on
I
that
know I'm
later.
taking that one in.
I'm gonna
Field
write that
notes on
down.
how to be. And I mean, that can be your partner, like anyone that you're with, but especially children.
Yeah. Well, even just going to
So
the park sometimes, it's like just sitting on a bench and like letting them play and being ready to jump up when they need you for something instead of, yeah, zoning out on your phone to kill the time or feel bored or, yeah, like it's taking away from something else you could be doing if they were playing at home.
yeah,
I don't know.
I love that wisdom nugget. I think that that's a good place to segue into where can people find you? Do you
Ah,
have
yes.
somewhere you want to direct folks to get more of these epiphanies and insights?
Because this one will be showing up there. Yeah, I mean, I don't have, like a business page or anything. I do for my actual business, but I have a personal writing page on Instagram, which is pretty like, I don't know, low key right now. And it's Heart of Rosewood. So it's heart.of.rosewood on Instagram. And sometimes I write things and post them there. So if you're like
Excellent.
to see the inside of my brain, not very often at this point, but who knows? At some point, I feel the floodgates will open and more
Mm,
shall be revealed there. But if, yeah, people could check me out there if they want to.
awesome. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. So I just want to say thank you again so much for sharing so vulnerably here with me and with us today. It's just so nice to tune in to you and your stories and sharing some laughter together and having some ahas. So, yeah, thank you so much, Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. This was a great conversation. I'm
Mm,
very happy to have shared the time and space with you. So
wonderful. Well, have a wonderful day. Oh, yeah, there we
that
go.
was my little heart, but I had a pen.
I like it. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, bye for now.
All right. See ya.
As always, thank you so much for listening. Life is busy, so it means even more to me that you are here. Listen, we've got so many great episodes coming up, so please make sure that you follow along on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening. And if you appreciate these episodes, please do us a favor and leave a review and share the show with anyone you think this episode would benefit. See you again next week. Bye for now.